Hi, it's Shaped by Kate. Today we're going to shape up our quads and hip flexors in today's yoga flow. So let's get started on our backs. And just hug your knees into your chest. Notice how your quads and hip flexors are feeling, and also see if your quads can even touch your belly. Sometimes if they're feeling pretty sore, that feels pretty tender. And just rock side to side, pressing your spine into your yoga mat. And bring awareness to how your body and mind are feeling today. And then just opening up the legs a little bit more, let's bring our knees to our armpits, flex our feet. Either find happy baby pose here, or you can come into that full pose. Hands come to the soles of the feet. Activate your legs, so press your hands into your fingers. Hands press back. Shoulders press into the mat. Almost as if your feet were actually on the ground and your weight was what was opening up the inner leg. Beautiful. Let's bring the heels together. Drop the soles of the feet onto the mat. Inhale, lengthen your right leg, flex the foot, clasp your hands behind your leg, and slowly press your thigh towards your belly, keeping the tailbone and the sit bones on the ground. Sorry, just keeping the tailbone on the ground. Let's point and flex that foot again, maybe even roll out the ankle. If this feels too easy, also you can lengthen that bottom leg. Beautiful. Let's release the hands and drop that leg over to the right. You can bring it as low as you'd like to the floor. If it feels too much, draw your heel down. Good. Then exhale, bring it back to center, keeping both of your back hip bones on the ground. Let's draw that right leg over to the left. If you're not quite feeling that, try to think about dipping your big toe down towards the earth, heel towards the sky. Inhale to exhale. Now we can find a normal supine spinal twist. That right hip can come off of the earth. Beautiful. Roll back to center. Let's start on the other side. So inhale that left leg into your chest. Point and flex the toe. Hands are clasped around the back of your leg, above or below the knee. Release the hands. Drop that leg over to the left. If that leg is bent and you'd like it lengthened, lengthen it out. Beautiful. Inhale to exhale, sweep that leg over to the other side. If your leg's bent, go ahead and straighten it. Keep both of your hips on the earth for now. Really just bringing all of that awareness to your hamstring. Inhale to exhale. Now you can lift that left hip off the ground. Find a supine spinal twist. Bent or straight leg. All right, let's come off our back. So roll back to center. Clasp your hands behind the backs of your knees And let's take a few yogi rolls up to our boat pose. Just opening up our core a little bit. Find any variation. Let's find 3 rounds of breath here. Beautiful. You can find a tabletop. So kick your legs behind. Come back onto the middle of your mat. Let's do 3 rounds of cat-cows. Inhale to exhale. Find your own pace in your rounds. Opening and closing the spinal joints. After those rounds, come into your neutral tabletop. Step your hands back, maybe 1 or 1.5 steps back. Exhale, find cat. And then gently lean forward. So just activating that core a little bit more, tucking your tailbone and your chin. Now think about pressing the tops of your feet into the mat and lifting your knees and shins away from the earth. You don't have to if that's a lot of pressure for your hands. You could almost just take weight away from the knees and feel that activate your core. Pull your shoulder blades apart. If you're wanting to lift, that's what that looks like. Exhale here. Inhale, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Find your cow pose. Exhale back to narrow cat, lifting the knees. Beautiful. Find 2 or 3 more rounds. Bringing awareness to the shoulder blades, touching the spine and pulling away from the spine. Beautiful. Come back to a neutral tabletop. Walk your hands out, curl the toes under, find downward facing dog, pedal out your legs. Inhale, walk towards the top of your mat. Find your first forward fold. Inhale to exhale here. Inhale to rise, find mountain pose. Heel toe your feet together. Let's find our first balancing poses. So shift your weight onto your left foot. Inhale, hug your knee into your chest. Try to squeeze that thigh towards your belly. If that's maybe a lot for a standing pose, you can also grab hold of a wall, or you can take away the hands if your hands can't quite reach around your shin. Good. From here, with or without your hands, we're going to just bring that knee out to the right, open up our hip. Good. Bring it back to center. Good. Let's do that again. Inhale to exhale. Good. Bring it back and drop it back down. Good. Shift your weight onto your right leg. Inhale, hug your knee into your chest with or without your hands. Thinking about belly pressing all the way to, thigh all the way to your belly. Inhale to open it up to the side. Good. Come back to center. Let's do that again. And drop it back down. Good. Let's bring our stance wider than hip width distance apart. Clasp your hands behind your back. Open up your shoulders, squeezing the shoulder blades together. Exhale, find a fold. Letting your head drop down. You can also make this a little bit more restful. Bend your knees generously. Good. Exhale, press your heels into the ground, lift back up to standing, release the hands. Let's find a forward fold. Inhale to halfway lift. Plant your hands, either take a big step or hop into your plank. Inhale, shift forward. Exhale, let's find a slow chaturanga to the earth. Notice which part of your body finds the earth first. Chest or belly, followed by the thighs, then the tops of the feet. On your inhale, find a cobra. Exhale, lower down. Inhale to rise, higher cobra. Good, keep up with this movement, find your own pace. You're either finding that same height or just a little bit higher in your cobra. Opening up the spine and the arms. Next, exhale, find downward facing dog again. Inhale that right leg up to the sky, three-legged dog. Sweep it forward for your lowest low lunge. Sweep your swords to the sky and hinge at your waist to lean forward. Find a forward half split. Finding dynamic movement from here, hips and shoulders are square. You're going to exhale, sweep your hips and swords back. Find your back half split. Now your right leg is straight and you're hinging at the waist. Good, inhale to bring it back to your forward half split. Exhale, shift back. Hang out in each half split for maybe a breath or two, and then flow back. Using just the strength of your hips without your hands. If it's a lot for a knee, you can place a little cushion underneath. Or again, this is your yoga practice. You can use your hands to take the weight away from your knees. Next time you land in a half split with your right leg straight, let's bring our left hand next to our heel and let's twist towards the right, opening up that right leg a little bit more. Hand can be on your hip or reaching to the sky. Good, twist back to center. Walk your hands forward, frame your right foot, pick up your back knee, and step it about 2 or 3 steps in your pyramid pose. Forward fold. If you need to rest on that right leg, bend it generously. Inhale to flatten out your back. Left hand stays next to your right foot. Let's find our revolved pyramid, right hand to hip or the sky. Almost teeter around with that center of gravity, sort of shift that weight forward. Step your left hand towards the front of your mat, so in front of your toes. Shift that weight onto your right leg. And then think about your hips being level. So lift the left toes off the ground. Find a revolved half moon. Good. Inhale to exhale. Square everything forward. Find your forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Let's come back to the ground. Plant your hands. If you stepped out to a plank, let's step the other leg out. Inhale, shift forward. Exhale, slowly lower down. If you need to come to your knees first, you can also come to your knees. Slowly melting into the earth. Inhale to your highest cobra. This time as you pull the shoulders back, try to lengthen your arms, come into a modified upward facing dog. Good, exhale to lower down. Inhale, rise. Find your upward facing dog. This time if you'd rather lift your knees away from the earth, lift them away. Exhale, lower down one more time. Really deep back bend as we're coming from a straight spine and lifting up into that upward facing dog. Press the tops of your feet into the mat, squeeze the legs together. Shift your hips up, then uncurl the toes, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg up to the sky, sweep it forward, low lunge. Drop your back leg. Sweep your arms to the sky, find your low lunge. Shift your hips forward. Think about hips and shoulders square towards the front of your mat. Use your swords against you, sweep them down and back. Lengthen your left leg as your hips shoot back. Back half split. And bring it back forward. Find your own pace, just like in your cat-cows or in any movement. Make this little segment your own. Next time you land in that back half split, stay there. Right hand reaches next to the left. Let's twist towards the left. Left hand to your left hip or to the sky. Still trying to keep those hips square. Exhale, come back to center. Walk your hands forward as you bend the left leg. Pick up your back leg. And step the toes 2 or 3 steps. Find your pyramid. Fold in this pose. If your leg needs a break, bend it generously. There's no forcing or anything in those hamstring muscles. Being nice and gentle in our flow. Always asking when we come into a pose if you need it to be a restful pose or a strength pose. Making your way into your revolved pyramid. Flatten out your back. Right hand comes to a block or the earth. Left hand to your hip. Thinking about open your shoulders over to the left. Think about that weight distributed on your left and right foot. Now think about shifting it towards the front. So right hand steps forward. Shift that weight onto your left leg. Right now that right hip is dipping down. I want you to think about squaring it towards the earth. So lift the right toes off the ground. Find your revolved half moon. Good. And it's a lot of pressure to have that whole hand on the ground. So if you wanted, you could even lift the hands off the earth. A little bit more balance, but it takes a little bit of weight away from your left leg. All right, inhale to exhale. Square everything forward. Find your forward fold. And let's find that flow one more time. Inhale to a halfway lift. Plant your hands. Step or hop to plank. Inhale, shift forward. Exhale, slowly lower down. Once you're here on the ground, inhale, lift up into your upward facing dog again. This time when we lower back to the ground, I want you to stay in your lowest chaturanga hold. So exhale, bend the elbows. Hover off the ground. Inhale, upward facing dog. Good, let's do that 2 more times. You could drop to your knees if you need. And come back into downward facing dog. Bring that tailbone nice and high. Bring the weight away from your wrists. And then let's come to our standing pose. So walk or hop your feet to a forward fold. Inhale to rise. Find your mountain pose. Good. We're going to find our hand to toe pose. Since this is kind of an at-home workout, I'm going to do it without any props. If you have a strap or anything, you can also grab that here. If not, you can just use your leg and your hand as props. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to mirror you guys. I'm going to start on my right leg, hug my left knee into my chest. I'm going to take my left peace fingers, wrap them around my big toe and the base of the toe. And sort of find a length in the spine and find this pose. If you can't quite reach the toes, you can just grab onto the knee. From here, keeping that back straight, your right palm can reach out to the side to counterbalance your weight. You're going to extend your leg in front of you. Now, if you find your back rounding as you're straightening your leg, just keep a generous bend in your knee. So it can look just like this. For those, if that's too easy, you can lengthen your leg all the way. And then wherever you're at in this pose, let's draw that leg over to the left. Again, that leg can be super bent. Good, bring it back to center. If that leg is lengthened, re-bend the knee. Now let's find our revolved pose. And just to take a break from the big toe, let's catch our right hand on the outer edge of our left foot. Left hand comes to our left hip. And you can look to the left. And you can keep your leg bent, or you can lengthen it. Good, find that for at least a half breath. If you want to hold it longer, stay there. So sometimes that pose can be done pretty easily with just one step in, one step out. If you need little breaks here and there, you can find that. Let's switch to the other side when you're ready. So clear your mind for the other side. Shift that weight over onto the left foot or just your opposite leg. Hug in your right knee. Maybe this side feels a little bit easier. Those right peace fingers can wrap around the right big toe. Set that humerus bone into your shoulder joint. Maybe the knee stays straight, halfway straight, or lengthened all the way out. And open up that leg to the side. Here's what that looks like with your knee bent. Or again, if you just have your hand on your knee, that's what that looks like. Good, exhale, bring it back to center. Rebend the knee. Let's find our revolved hand to toe pose. So opposite hand comes to the opposite foot. Right hand comes to your right hip. Look to the opposite way. Maybe you extend your leg. If you're feeling brave, you can even look behind. Find it for at least a half breath. Come back to center and drop your foot down. Let's take a wide stance, maybe the width of your mat. And let's just rock our hips in some circles. Just in one direction, about 2 or 3 ways. 2 or 3 rotations, and then switch direction. Good, then making our way onto our hands and knees. Let's tuck the chin, roll down to a forward fold. Inhale to halfway lift. Bring the feet back to a normal position if you haven't already. Plant your hands. Come into your hero pose. Now it's a lot of hip flexor work. So from that pose, we're going to do our Lolasana pose. So if you need a little extra wrist stretch in your hero pose, you can place your heels of the hands in front, fingers facing the knees, gently lean back, and you can rock forward. Maybe even bend your elbows if that feels nice, or just think about bending your elbows. And then switching to your back hands. Good, shake out the wrists. Again, since we don't have any props today, typically if you have blocks, you could bring them by your knees. We're just going to do this without props. The blocks are nice though, because it gives you a nice lift. We're going to plant our hands down, lean forward. I want you to find that cat pose again. So pull the shoulder blades apart, slightly tuck the chin, look forward. Press the tops of the feet into the mat, squeeze the legs together, and lift the knees into your chest. Keep the tops of the feet on your mat. If that's a lot, curl the toes under, and just think about hugging the knees into your chest, pulling the shoulder blades apart, leaning forward. Good. If you need a break, come back down. Shake out the wrist. Now we're going to try lifting one foot at a time. I'm going to still show the tops of the feet onto the mat, but if you want to curl the toes under, you can find that pose. Squeeze legs together. Plant your hands down, lean forward. Think about your spine almost lifting you as you're pulling your shoulder blades apart. So lift the knees, find your cat pose. Maybe lift one leg off of the ground. Set it down, lift the other. Good, let's do that one more time. Good, calm back down. Beautiful. Beautiful. So if you want to come into that full Savasana pose, you can lift both of your legs up, hug your quads to your belly. Really think about just finding that tight little ball and hanging from your shoulders like a pendant. If you already know that's going to be a lot, especially without props, one thing to help you find that little lift is to cross out your ankles. So when you plant your hands down, lift your hips, cross the ankles, lift the knees, and then lift the legs off the earth. Kind of hard to do while you're talking. So try that out for a moment. Switch your ankles too when you're ready to switch to the other side. When you're ready to come out of that pose, let's lengthen the legs. That's a lot of hip flexion and knee flexion. So go ahead and find a downward facing dog. Press your heels to the earth. Broaden your shoulders. If that's a lot for your wrist, you can find a forward fold. Sway hips side to side. And then let's make our way to a wide child's pose. So set your knees wide, bring your toes together. Drop your belly towards the earth, head follows. And flip your palms towards the ceiling. Good. Flip your palms back down if you haven't done that already. Lift your hips and belly away from your heels. Walk back to a normal tabletop. Kick your legs behind. Let's come back down onto the earth. If you need a sip of water, take a sip of water. Roll down onto your mat. Find any comfortable pose to settle in here. If you're like me, I typically like to hug my knees into my chest, just to really think about pressing my upper body into the mat. And then just like with our slow chaturanga hold down to the earth, I want you to slowly think about your body melting into the earth. So if you're in a ball like me, you can release the hands. Slowly let the arms melt down, followed by the legs moving away from the belly, lengthening away from you. Take an inhale to exhale, melt down. Take this moment to let the earth be your blanket, so it's wrapping its arms around you as you're heading into your corpse pose. One more inhale to exhale here together, and I leave you here in Savasana. All right, on your next inhale, add movement back into your body, back into your thoughts. Make any adjustment. Find 1 to 3 more rounds of breath on the earth. And when you're ready, make your way up to any seated pose. Hands come to heart center when you're here. Take a moment to reflect on your practice. Thank yourself for being aware of your strength, your flexibility and balance, and bowing forward as respect to your practice. Namaste.